Our guest is Felicity Jean. Welcome.
Thank you.
And just so you can see, if I reach like this, we're not sitting next to each other. My mom calls me every day and says, Mike, why are you sitting so close to that person without a mask? But we're not. Felicity Jean, you're the author of Free Fall. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Free Fall is a memoir, and it's a story about love and loss, and it's about my journey as a spousal caregiver to my second husband, who was diagnosed with early onset dementia that turned into Alzheimer's.
And this is your journey.
My journey.
And I've known in my family, my wife's family especially, we've had quite a few cases of that. And the things you go through and stuff like that, people cannot believe. But the caregiver is the one who has a tremendous burden.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to write the book, was to not only make people aware of how young people can get early onset dementia, they can get it at 30, 40, 50, and 60s, but also because of the caregiver that sometimes is forgotten about. There's not a lot of benefits that can help a caregiver, as I found out being in a second marriage. For example, if you're not ready for retirement and you are in that income bracket where you can't really afford to quit work, a spouse in a second marriage or any marriage cannot apply for disability on their husband's life.
Huh.
And, that causes a problem.
Yeah, and first of all, I should say I'm sorry to hear about this and sorry that it happened to you, but I'm, in a way, happy that you're telling the story, because other people need to hear what a caregiver goes through. And sometimes a caregiver, there's no relief. You don't, get a break.
No, you don't get a break.
I mean literally a 10 or 15-minute break. You don't get those throughout the day or a day off.
No, you don't. And I chose to stay home. I quit work 2 years before my retirement age to take care of him, because it was either go back to work and get somebody to come into your home, which is difficult because of the memory loss. It's hard for them to accept somebody coming into your home.
Yeah, someone new.
Yeah, so it's a real challenge. There are resources out there which really helped kind of educate me. I went to Valley Caregivers here locally, and I learned all about the different things that happen with dementia, and how dementia is really the beginning of what could be Alzheimer's. It could be a start of Parkinson's, people that have heart disease. There's a number of things that can happen when dementia starts early like that.
And I guess you call them the patient, the husband. At some point, did he have trouble expressing what maybe physical conditions he had?
5 years into our marriage, the thing that I noticed was the subtle forgetfulness, the cognitive things where he would say something to me, it would come to me, and he thought he said something else. It would be very confused, or there's confusion. And those are the first signs that I noticed in that fifth year. And in the 6th year is when we had him diagnosed the first time.
Now, how did the diagnosis come? Did they have to do a brain scan to get a real diagnosis?
It was a testing. There, at that time, may be different now, but at that time, there's a numbers system where the total number being 30, and there's a series of different questions that they are asked to do, to say, to remember, to draw. And as it goes down, that shows the progression of the disease.
Now, we have had doctors on our show that are specialized in this, and they said dementia, Alzheimer's, you don't really know until after the person's gone, unless you can afford the brain scan, which is like $5,000 to do that.
Yeah, another resource that we used was UCSF Alzheimer's Center here locally, and that was really our third diagnosis of it. And what we did is we donated his brain for research, and at the end we knew that definitely it was Alzheimer's. And usually the plaque is located in the frontal part of the brain.
So the only way you can find out is after they're gone, for
Right.
sure. For
Right.
sure. Now, did you guys, did your husband know? I mean, did he know? Do they realize, do the patients realize that something's going wrong?
In the very beginning, when he was beginning to forget things, he just took it as, oh, everybody my age starts getting forgetful, which a
Little
lot of
forgetful,
people
yeah.
think. But it's a different kind of forgetfulness. It's the short-term memory, not the long-term memory.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to, and it's even hard to figure out when it actually started.
Yeah.
So
Could have been years before.
it could be years
Could be
before.
very gradually.
Yeah.
So you're, I've known you, by the way, for maybe 30 years, always as a career woman.
Right.
So you're mid-career, toward the end of your career, doing very well, and now all of a sudden you're presented without much choice.
Right.
Not
It-
a lot of options.
Not a lot of options, because what do? I mean, you either have somebody come in or you decide to just semi-retire and take care of your loved one, whether it be a parent, a child, or whatever.
Now you, and forgive me for phrasing it this way, but you being the second wife, was there other family? Does it start causing stress? And
It's stressful for everybody, and it's really hard on those adult children that don't live in the same town. We had those dynamics going on. They lived out of town, and it was hard for them to come in and help out. And there's nobody to blame. It's just circumstances. So you just,
but you're left in the position of giving up everything
right.
to keep going.
Right. I did have some local family members that were very supportive, and I had my immediate family as well, but it's not the same,
Right.
you know, and I'm sure it was very hard for them too, the children I'm speaking of.
Now, tell us a little bit about the book. First of all, it's called Free Fall, and I think there's a website. I can kind of see on the screen there. Tell us the website, Felicity
It's-
Jean Author, FelicityJeanAuthor.com,
Right, right,
and that's where they can start looking for the book.
absolutely.
Is it on Amazon or somewhere else?
It's on Amazon right now, and it's also on their extended distribution, but I don't know what bookstores that is at this point. But it will. I'm working on getting it on Barnes & Noble. For right now, it's just Amazon.
Amazon's pretty easy, but what I tell you, our viewers, what's easier is go to FelicityJeanAuthor.com and get it there, and it's very direct, and sometimes you could get to ask authors questions through their websites and stuff like that. I like to do that.
Absolutely.
Now tell us some stories from inside the book.
Well, when I was, first of all, getting started with this whole process, I wasn't sure what direction I wanted to go, and I was advised to do more of an instructional type book on what to expect. But I didn't want it to be that way. I wanted to tell a true, real story of what our life was like. I wanted to give background on how we were before, because we had a wonderful 6 years, even though it was short. And I wanted to learn how to bring in those reflections of the good times. So it's our story of how we were, the progression of the disease, and how we dealt with it. And really the huge underlying thing is faith is what helped me get through it.
Is it instructional as well?
It is.
It is, okay.
It is. I have it sectioned in 5 different areas. So if anybody wanted to look up what we went through during the doctor analysis period, or even on hospice. I took him home on hospice the last 2 weeks of his life. And I don't know if people really realize how much work that is when you bring them home.
Hospice, yeah.
So that was a real awakening to me. I'm glad we did, but at the same time, we were fortunate enough to have people come in and help us.
Now, I'm thinking that out in the world right now, there's hundreds, thousands of people going through what you went through.
Absolutely. In fact, in the United States, the last numbers I looked, there's between 250,000 and 500,000 people that have dementia. It's hard to ascertain when it starts because, like I said, it's subtle. So
And everybody that's going through being a caretaker, it's usually their first time. You don't
Right.
get to go through this 10 times to become an expert at it. So maybe getting your book and reading it might be an inspiration or lay out a path that they're going to see what's going to come, and it doesn't always have to be a surprise or an unknown, because people have gone through it before them.
Right, absolutely. It's a journey to go through. It's not a fun journey. It's not a fun journey writing it, because as a writer you have to do a lot of revisions along the way, so you sort of relive everything. But it was a message that I thought really had to get out there, so that's why I did it.
I've heard a lot of authors say that going back and reliving what they're writing about is difficult. But if you could give some people some insight who are going to have to go through it. I mean, each step you took was new to you, right to the very last couple of weeks. So
It was.
maybe
It
some
was.
people can benefit from your experience and the path that you walked down.
Yeah, because most people don't realize that the person that's going through it, that has the disease, they don't want to believe they have it. And so they're in denial, and they want no one to know about it.
Right.
My husband didn't want me to even tell his children. But eventually people will see the signs, but at the same time, you know, I didn't tell anybody until later, and I wished I had gone ahead and told them.
Yeah. But at some point you have to, I guess.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You do.
Well, our guest is Felicity Jean. She's an author, and we have your number on the screen. Can people call you?
Yes?
Oh, good. If you have some questions, phone her up. But start at the website, FelicityJeanAuthor.com. We're about out of time here, Felicity. What else do you want our viewers to know?
I just hope that they'll read the book and become more aware, and they can also email me at that website, so I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I think, looking back, maybe if you had someone like you who's been through it that you could just ask questions or talk to or say what's going to happen next might have been helpful.
That's right.
And now you could be that person for other people.
Absolutely.
Very good. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Courageous
Mike.
book and a courageous journey, and I'm glad that you're here talking about it, because you're not alone. That, like we said, there's thousands or hundreds of thousands of people out there right now that are about to go through what you went through with your husband.
Right, and those numbers that I named are for early onset
Early
dementia.
onset, okay.
Yeah.
We will be back with more Central Valley Talk right after this.